Hello there. My name is Dr. Michael D'Andrea, and I'm a professor. I'm also a founder of one of the associations in the world's largest counseling association in the world called Counselors for Social Justice. I also work with foster home children and their families, and I do a lot of writing and traveling and talking to people across the United States and in other countries. And with those experiences in mind, I am dedicating this video by its title, which is simply stated, Holy Shit, What is Happening to Our Country? Now, I thought about the title of this short presentation because I think it simply is appropriate for what's going on. Because there's a lot of deceit, a lot of promoting anger, a lot of distorted truths going on. And we see that in this upcoming election, as in all past elections in the last 2 decades, the United States ranks as the lowest in industrialized nations in terms of voter turnout. In fact, more people go to the malls across the United States in 1 week than vote in presidential elections, in the general election, and in the primaries. Clearly, we have a priority on shopping and touring malls in order to get more stuff, as if we didn't have enough stuff as it is, than we do in terms of fulfilling our responsibility to be responsible citizens and voting in the election. And that's one of the points that makes me say, holy shit, what's going on here? Over time, I've looked at a variety of situations that really led me to pick this important title for this video. By looking at the military interventions, the growth of the prison industrial complex, which benefits a select few of owners in private industry in the prison systems, looking at the increasing rates of people in poverty, looking at the tensions that mount and mount more and more people, primarily persons in marginalized and devalued groups, even more specifically, young, unarmed African American men and Latinos, men and women, who have been subjected to the most serious form of police brutality, as we've seen dramatized on our televisions. At the same time, as a peace advocate, we're seeing some of the attacks going the other way, where people that are extremely frustrated with the injustices that continue to occur when police officers who shoot and killed unarmed Black and Latino men and women have continued payments for their services and put on administrative leave, while individuals caught for smoking pot represent thousands of people in our society, not necessarily for violent crimes, but for violating a major offense that underlies the use of marijuana. You know, it makes me really want to say, given the pervasive nature of marijuana and the medicinal benefits that are derived there, and the use of cocaine by many of the people in Washington, D.C. who are elected officials, and the disparity between prison time for those persons who are richer than most of us, and many are elected officials who snort cocaine, and when caught, are given prison sentences that are a stark difference from individuals who use crack cocaine as a way to get the similar type high that politicians and entrepreneurs and business people get at the same time. But then over the last year, it has been really a time for me to say to myself over and over, holy shit, what's going on in this presidential election? What the hell is going on here? On the one hand, we have a Democratic nominee who couldn't get much more boring in terms of her presentation. She is putting people to sleep. She is not inspiring people. She has credibility issues that people really don't trust Hillary Clinton. She is a sad performer and a person who cannot really legitimately be called a leader of the most powerful nation in the world. She continues to have to respond to these attacks on her emails. She voted for an illegal and immoral war in Iraq and has apologized for it. And I'm wondering how many more apologies might come from a Hillary Clinton administration that supports illegal wars and masquerades under the lies of weapons of mass destruction. This issue of weapons of mass destruction was torn down when no one found any weapons of mass destruction, as alleged by people like Colin Powell and others. And at the same time, the nation on the planet right now who has the largest numbers of weapons of mass destruction all over the world, not only in missiles, but in the production of chemical and biological warfare material. Yes, it's our country, the United States of America, far surpassing the nuclear weaponry of Russia and other nations. In fact, if one looks at the total amount of military spending in the United States as compared to other nations, we see that the United States, which has 5% of the total population of other nations in the world, we supply 43% of all the weaponry, biological, chemical warfare. That's 43% by one nation with 5% of the total population, where all of the other nations combined produce 57%. We are truly a superpower when it comes to military and the size of the military and the power of the military. And yet we have another presidential candidate who wants to invest more money in the military. A military that has violated war after war after war, going from the illegal war in Vietnam, which we lost without honor, moving up to supporting wars under clandestine premises in Chile. We've looked at more recent attacks in Panama, where we invested a ton of money bombing and putting people under arrest to get Noriega, a drug-addicted person who we've supported and placed in a leadership position in the past. Then we move up to the preemptive war. A preemptive war? That means the United States goes into a military conflict in order to allegedly prevent someone from attacking us, as the case. We have a candidate in the Republican Party who says we need more support and monetary support for the military in the United States. At the same time, there's relatively little discussion about how spending more money in the military will help to develop our infrastructure, like the pipes in Flint. Flint is not the only place that carries poisonous water because of the age of the piping in that city, but many other cities in the United States are on the brink of the catastrophe that has been publicized by the news media going on in Flint, Michigan, poisoning our kids, leading them to permanent brain damage and other serious medical problems. And yet we have a man who's running for the highest office in the land, who wants to spend more money on the military. He wants a stronger police force. He's praised the police. However, there has been no indication by Donald Trump about the increasing racial tensions that are occurring in this nation, in some part due to his verbose language and concepts. Talking about things like deporting 11 million persons who are in the United States illegally. Hello, Donald. Have you heard anything about the impact of deporting people and breaking up families and the misery or harm? As a matter of fact, do you think about the misery and harm that's done to people by the existing structure of our country? If we look further into what the Republican candidate has to say, he is talking about possibly bombing other nations that are a threat to the United States. My concern is, would Donald Trump use a nuclear weapon to really make a point and to be an aggressor of unprecedented proportions? Holy shit, what is happening here? Donald Trump talked about the importance of killing the families of people in ISIS, because under his philosophy, members of ISIS will respond and throw down their weapons and concede defeat if we attack the innocent wives, elder persons, and children who are family members of persons in ISIS. Holy shit, what is going on with the large numbers of people that are supporting someone who wants to go back, as he states, you remember the good old days? If someone was a heckler in the audience, they would really take care of them by taking them outside and doing whatever they wanted to that person. We have a person who has talked about building a wall. For real? Seriously? A wall across 2,200 miles? That is what? Now it's up to 30 feet high, and underneath the wall is a tunnel prevention structure? Really? Are you serious? And to those who support Trump or Hillary, I feel what you're feeling. Our nation has made us frustrated and angry, and a lot of that frustration and anger is irrationally reflected in many people's support for Donald Trump, especially people like me, white persons in our nation who have benefited much as a result of injustices and racism in our society. And as far as Hillary goes, are you serious, Hillary? Is someone setting you up to do this kind of stuff? You are putting people to sleep with your speeches. You keep defending yourself against these accusations. Can we please talk about in liberty and justice for all, in promoting the justice for people that continue to be oppressed in our society? You know, I don't know about the rest of you, but we again face the challenge of voting for the lesser of two evils in this situation. That has happened with people in the past, and now it's reached a peak of imperfection that again makes me say, holy shit, what is going on here? So I don't know what you all are going to do. Some of you may vote for an independent. Of course, that is a protest vote that doesn't have much meat to the bones in terms of helping us build a better society. Voting either for Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton is not likely to substantially change our country and our society in ways that make greater equality in wages for families, provide greater housing availability to the citizens, turning prisons into reform institutions rather than hallmarks of violence between inmates as well as guards and inmates, and the sort of porous flow of drugs and sex in our prison systems. You know, we're on the verge of really wondering if our democracy is falling apart, if our sense of justice is falling apart. And if it is, well, it's been a good run. But I still have faith that we, the people, can make decisions not only in our voting, but in our habits to help preserve the principles of liberty and justice for all. We do have inalienable rights. And with these rights come the pursuit of happiness, the right to life, the right to liberty. And those precious amendments that specify our rights are real critical. So I don't know about you, but I'm going to go into the voting booth on voting day, hold my nose tight because it is so stinky thinking about this upcoming election, and cast my vote with despair for Hillary Clinton. the lesser of two evils. I'm really interested in what you folks are thinking about, because maybe we have finished with democracy and the principles of justice upon which this nation has founded. We have 13% confidence in our Congress across the United States in polls taken, and yet the incumbents continue to be reelected. We have the cost of elections right now that only make the super rich, who are receiving donations from the major corporations that really control the 1% super wealthy in this nation, while the rest of us have to kind of try to make ends meet as the middle class is losing ground, falling backwards. So I don't know about you, but I'm really wondering if we can shift things by organizing ourselves or doing something that will help address the problems in our society. I'm going to provide some other videos that have to do with the issue of surveillance in our country, the issue of the constant rhetoric of thanking our veterans for the sacrifices they have made in preserving our freedom. That ought to be something that will stir up some discussion. But with this kickoff video, I'm really interested in your responses, whether they be supportive and positive or whether they be very negative and wondering, holy shit, what is this guy talking about? Please join us on opening up the discussion about the real issues here, and think before you act. But please get out and get off your couch, put down the potato chips and the onion dip, and vote for a person you think has the greatest likelihood of winning and providing the least harm to this nation. Thanks a lot for your time, and God bless America.